So folks, what we'll do in this conversation is really explore various angles to really the role that technology is playing in marketing and where does it go from here. Because when we looked at technology in marketing, and when we looked at the overall sort of mission of marketing, which is really about connecting people to brands and generating revenue, there are very fascinating dynamics at play. There's this whole sort of tension between what a lot of technology is doing, which is creating a lot of analytics, trying to automate a lot of things, bring about recommendations and predictions. And then there is this whole sort of beautiful world of creativity, the world of surprising people, the world of actually creating a lot of interest. And then you begin to wonder as to how do these two worlds sort of try and coexist. Human nature, human emotions are not stuff that you can really automate. So how do these things kind of play together? And what we thought is, let's try and probe some of these interests and with some of these really experienced co-panelists sort of glean from their experiences on how they've used technology, and we've got also someone from the IT side as well to give that perspective, because one of the whole other areas really is how do IT professionals view the whole relationship as well. So what I want to do is really start, gentlemen, by really sort of trying to see if, because technology has played a role in marketing, firstly at the whole insight stage, which is really about analytics and helping create insights, whether it's within the organization or whether it's from outside the organization. And then there is a whole lot of technology in terms of actually creating interests with people, whether it's digital, social, YouTube, Twitter, or even using technology for a whole lot of creativity which exists. And then there is a whole thing of interactions and customizations and personalization, which is the other whole buzzword, and intimacy. So maybe we'll just kind of go around and really give a sense about, in your experience, where do you see technology playing maximum today and going forward? So.
Great. But before, can I ask a couple of questions?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
How many technology people in the audience? 3. How many marketing people in the audience? How many of the marketing people in the audience are from a strategic marketing technology orientation? How many marketing people in the audience that are from a creative orientation? How many creative people? Like writers, art directors and stuff. Okay, that's good. You know what? The reason why I asked Vasant was, having now sat through about an hour and a half, it's like any classic new world direct marketing, digital marketing group, right? Technology is the world, right? Mm-hmm. Accenture, I'm assuming, you're right. We've got, so, how many, one last question, how many people who are 50 years and older in this room? Wow, as the oldest guy in the room, never used to be in that place, right?
We'll get there very soon.
Yeah, I mean, we'll all get there. I got there a little ahead of everybody else, so that's at least I've got something going. But do I need this, or can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, so, technology has always been an integral part of marketing, right? For a guy who got into the business on November 1, 1984 in India at an agency that was Trikaya in Bombay that became Gray, and then, moving to the US and kind of looking at technology, I remember creating a program called the Canary in a Coal Mine. Anybody know about the story of the canary in a coal mine, right? In a coal mine in the old days, it's in a canary. If she died, they knew it was dangerous, and if the canary lived, then they walked in. So at AOL, we did original testing for retail products in the year 1992, right? So technology has been a big part of it, but technology, in my mind, is not the entire thing. And I think we were watching the Drayton Bird thing. At the end of the day, we've got people in here, and my favorite quote has been David Ogilvy's quote: "Don't treat your customer like she's stupid because she's your wife, and she's not going to like it." And so I think the role of technology, in my mind, has to be seen within the context of a human being. So I'll set that up as a starting point, and then we'll go from there.
That's great.
Well, brilliant words. I think I can't really differentiate in terms of sort of what is creativity, what is marketing, what is technology, and I don't know why we're sitting in 4 different rooms in the first place, because it's one world we live in. It's probably just in terms of how we try and sort of compartmentalize or just make them as sort of verticals in companies, organizations, or even in this forum or platform. But I think it's an age or an era where I think we can't in any manner realize, for example, sort of, someone like himself, he said he's 50, for example, he would have probably began his life with a fax machine. I don't know how many in this room have ever even seen a fax machine? Wow.
Talk about
A telex machine, okay. So we're living in a very smart space wherein everything you want is real time. You want data real time. You want to sort of get communication real time. So perhaps I think a lot of the companies which are sort of, I think, going to be doing communication is going to be thinking more smarter in terms of sort of how you want to sort of even get even communication real time, right? Gone are the days when they would sort of think of saying, what am I going to have a print ad 4 days from now? Marketers are thinking about what they want right now. So everything is about right now, and I think technology is that one word or that one, I think, platform which enables it right there itself. So I think that's the foundation in terms of stuff. So you could call it perhaps the heart, the backbone, the nerve center, whatever, but the fact is we cannot imagine a world without it, and that's exactly, I think, what we're going to sort of talk about through the session.
So Amit, before you get, you're in a very interesting area because, if I'm not mistaken, one of the big pillars of this entire shift is mobility, right? So also comment from that perspective of how you see that influencing,
Sure.
the role as well.
So thanks for setting it up so well. In terms of, we're talking about technology, we're talking about creativity. So, are these two aspects of marketing at loggerheads, or can they work together? I think, as we move forward, we will see, but from my perspective, they certainly work together. And in terms of technology, technology allows us to sift through massive amounts of data, massive amounts of information, and then come up with certain answers which we could possibly not be able to do in a lifetime, without technology. So starting with analytics, starting with creating the insight, understanding the customer, going through massive amounts of data, through to today, when you talk about mobility, it's about being able to deliver the message effectively, right, to the end customer, and very often to the right customer, so that that customer or the prospect, right, is not yet a customer, that prospect can then act upon that information and become a customer. So from understanding through to delivery, maybe using mobility platforms or other platforms, technology plays a huge role across. But can technology actually create that wow? Can technology create that offer? Possibly not today, right? Who knows tomorrow? We talk about artificial intelligence, right? We're talking about predictive analytics. Maybe those will allow us to create, an end-to-end offer. But as of today, the human being still has a very important role to play in the whole value chain in creating that offer, right? So understand the customer, deliver the message, targeting, all of those aspects. And you did a wonderful presentation setting us up for this. But in terms of the art of marketing, it comes into creating that offer. So I'm sure we'll have some more meaningful discussions as we go through.
Suvendra, you're from the other side of the fence. If there is a virtual fence like that. So how do you look at this entire?
Yeah, so Sanjay was very well talking about the Chief Marketing Technology Officer, CIO. So I play the role of CIO. In my company, there is no Chief Marketing Technology Officer, but I see there are virtual ones. Actually they exist, but probably they are not named. And my idea of being part of this forum to understand what marketeers feel, and maybe there is something I need to learn, and probably if at all I can contribute. But what I understand from my experience that technology and creativity both go hand in hand, like technology gets evolved if there is a real need in somewhere, right? So, so there's a pool, and there are certain people who work around the pool, and technology gets comes out, and but that pool is being created by the creativity itself. The technology cannot be used by without creativity being there. So creativity anyway plays a greater role in using the technology, technology in context of the business need, or in a when creating some business needs or opportunities which can be fulfilled by the existing technology. So creativity, I think, plays a greater role, and the more technological inputs or possibilities we have, more creative solutions will come. And I mean, we in IT side of it have to keep thinking, changing our horizons, keep working on as an enabler of the marketing functions, be more flexible, while at the same time you have probably larger role to. For example, Sanjay was talking about microsite sites being invalid, and you don't know. There is an asset involved in that, right? And you don't know who has, used that asset, how he has left and has gone outside, and who is using or misusing the asset created, right? If somebody comes new to the marketing organization, he wants to use that asset, probably he will not know. So, so if unless until they do marry, right, the assets of the organizations, which is money actually, will remain unused. That's how I
See that happening.
I just want to, while a lot has been already said, just want to build up on this particular point, which is creativity and technology. Actually, these two are inseparable. Okay, so they go. While a lot of time technology give birth to creative ideas, or creative ideas get amplified multi times with technology. So hence, I don't see them two separate streams. And one example that I quote is of Tesco's launch in Korea, wherein they brought QR codes to the mainstream. Okay, when they created virtual stores in subways, so nobody thought QR code could be that kind of a technology enabler for virtual retail. So it's all in our thought processing. Okay, how do we look at these two things?
Yeah.
Can I build on that for a
Yeah,
second?
you should.
Because I think to me it's always fun when I go into these, right? Because we had the same discussion, which is when I first met Watsal and those guys at the DMA conference in Chicago, right, 2 years ago. And I think we're looking at it the wrong way. Okay, not at a conceptual level, but in a reality level, right? Why has technology become very important now in terms of marketing? It's because traditional, if you think about how a brand happens and how a business gets built, right? The traditional CPG model was brand happens and change beliefs. Drive awareness, drive interest, create desire, you have a brand, right? But in reality, that's not true. A brand only happens when actually people buy and continue to buy and continue to use and continue to advocate, right? So that's behavior. So, in traditional world, when I was growing up, you did a lot of traditional research, understanding what people said, and then try to interpret that and say, how would they behave based on that, right? And then you hope. I remember launching one of the first campaigns here, and it was we launched on a Sunday, so that when Doordarshan did the movie, you'd have movie Sunday night, right? Because we got one of the early TVs. Then people would run to the store during a half-an-hour intermission, and we knew whether the product was going to win or not by how many people walked in the intermission to buy that, right? That was the first time when I did some Procter & Gamble work here. Now, today we don't need that, because today, right, you do something, you got sales out there, right? I mean, you sit out here, I was sitting out there and kind of looking at something, and I just bought a book from Amazon, right? And it's going to be at my house tomorrow. So the reality is now we have behavior, and what data gives us is access to tremendous amount of behavioral information, which is where technology comes into play. If you can capture it, make sense out of it, and make it predictive, now we have the ability to affect beliefs, while the beliefs affect behavior, and that's how we build. And that's what I learned from Tesco, right? But it's not about technology giving you the information. When you're running, what we learned was you have to interrogate the technology, and you interrogate it by starting with a hypothesis, and a hypothesis starts with a human behavioral understanding. What would a person do? And therefore, let's go
add, sorry, just to add to that, but the genesis of that great work that happened and it got Cannes and all of them award was the insight that people when traveling through tubes need to shop for home, and while they can scan the QR code and actually the thing got to get delivered their house by the time they are back. So the insight part of the creativity and the marketing would definitely be the edge over any other campaign.
Right.
So it all starts with the insight, and marketing or technology becomes an enabler.
That's right.
I don't know in terms of how many sort of people would still sort of remember using in this room a Kodak camera or Kodak roll. So it's one of the best examples in the world, which sort of I think was one of the biggest companies, but didn't take on technology and sort of died its natural death. And the good old Apple came on, and you know it's impossible to now believe in a world wherein, for example, we do not perhaps at least take one picture a day at least from our smartphones. And there are platforms emerging, for example, like an Instagram, which almost gets populated by like a nanosecond. So we've got a little screen up, in fact, when you come into this room, saying how many sort of almost at every millisecond a picture's getting up. It's incredible in terms of, for example, data of what companies like an IBM or Accenture or Oracle is sort of putting together in terms of just figuring out in terms of human mindsets and people. You know, I've met Instagrammers in the world who sort of have traits of taking pictures of just birds with green feathers. And there are companies then trying to sort of, I think, figure out ways to sort of serve pet food to these birds, which means that there is so much data happening of perhaps the most insane, never thought of, I think, characteristics, insights, what do you want to call it. And this is all happening by nanoseconds. Unimaginable by marketers perhaps 20 years ago, but I think we're living in an age wherein every single, perhaps, you know, almost every single action that you're doing is captured and a marketer is watching it and throwing back an offer at you.
So Kushal, now this is interesting because I think what I hear from everyone is that technology is enabling us
Right.
to connect better with our customers.
Yeah,
So logically, therefore, we should have stronger brands.
sure.
But I guess what we're also hearing is that brands are becoming weaker,
Yeah.
right? Brands are getting commodified. So how do we sort of, this entire sort of, it's a counterintuitive,
I'd love to hear that answer.
yeah?
So yes,
Yeah, I mean, anyone, I mean, we just,
So I think the first thing we've got to see is the whole buying pattern, right? Today, the customer is in control, right? Everything that we do in marketing doesn't matter unless the person takes action on it, and the person who's taking action on it is fully informed before our first campaign even touches him or her. I think that's the whole paradigm that's changed and shifted. The customer or the prospect is so well informed, has done their research, has gone to the blog sites, has read about the good things and the bad things, has done the research, right? Has probably done even comparative shopping, and then our campaign possibly touches them, if at all. In many cases, referral is enough, and they go ahead and they purchase what they want to buy. So I think that's one of the huge changes that have happened. And the brand building is actually happening there.
Correct.
Not really from all the things that we are wanting to say about ourselves.
yeah.
That's so true. Can I just add to that?
Before you go in, Zain, I think we have someone else joining the panel as well. So Ravi, if you can please come and join the panel. Ravi is from Sapient. I'm really sorry about this, but it's just been a bad morning in that sense. So, and Ravi, after Zain is done,
I like the extra attention.
Yeah.
So that works.
Yeah, I think Amit made the best point, right? I mean, I think what the world of technology or the world of digital has framed is it's completely reframed expectations, right? So in the old days, the purchase cycle was you want something to buy, you have to go to a store, you have to go to a shelf, you got to ask somebody, you got to get surprised, and you got to drive multiple stores before you can buy, right? Today, you don't have to, right? You go to Amazon. I mean, I buy almost 90% of my stuff, including my groceries, come delivered, right? The only 10% that I don't buy is what my wife needs, like her shoes and her clothes, because she has to try them different sizes, buy from the same place, it gets delivered, right? But what that has done is it's destroyed the entire purchase process, and it's destroyed the value of the way we valued brands traditionally. And that's the distinction, right? Brands have actually become more powerful and more resonant if the brand stands for something specific, and that specific is not a foo-foo, live life to the fullest, or, happiness or love, right? I mean, that's all BS. In reality, a brand has to exist only now to solve a real problem in a way that other companies can. And I'll talk about it tomorrow in my little go-out examples. And it's not just about the product that they sell, right? It's about the solutions that they create and services that deliver. And if you put those combo together, that's where Amit's point, technology, and I think you're from the mobile world, and you're not talking about it, so I can, give you a setup on that. But mobility is the fundamental destructor of all of that value, right? Because now you can do everything from wherever without any framework of control.
I just want to add one point on this. So there is a concept of brands selling to consumers. I think there is a whole paradigm shift of consumers choosing a brand and buying. So how do we kind of quickly adjust ourselves and thought process to this entire new phenomenon, which is consumers choosing brand?
And consumers selling to brands as well.
Yes.
Yeah. If you look at Coke or if you look at Red Bull, I think every customer was to say that, hey, I'm Vijay or I'm Suraj or I'm Dipti or whatever, and look at me, right? So things are sort of changing wherein I think I don't think there's anyone who's saying that I'm selling or I'm buying.
You're absolutely right.
I will say
Because Neeraj is selling for Coke and Coke is selling to Neeraj. So who's selling what?
Can I provide a technology view to it? Since after Virendra, I'm the only technologist on this panel. See, there are fundamentally, and I work with marketeers, not only on the client side, I've got the creative folks working with me, and I run an innovation lab, so I've got a very different perspective on some of the things. The fundamental thing is that there was a way in which we used to do marketing, which is, appeal to the human senses, which is the fundamental to everything. Like you said, solve a real problem and social problem, so to say. Technology can do that, but fundamentally you're appealing to somebody's senses. The trouble with the digital, so to say, is that we've lost that purpose from a marketing standpoint, that how can, on such a mundane, convenient channel where there is no interaction, there is no warm body, there is no human being, there is no emotion, you bring out those emotions. Since when this whole marketing shift happened from marketing to digital marketing and today whatever, we lost out on that purpose of, okay, we don't use digital or a technology just as add-on and start to build things and then start to focus on social or UGC or what have you. If we continue to stay focused on the human emotion aspect, technology could help. But then we stopped experimenting with technology in that aspect. If I was to create multi-sensory experiences even today, for Lava, if the mobile phone has tons of sensors, you can pack them in, you can appeal to the human senses, you can know what they want, you can give them exactly what they want. You could possibly do that. We don't build experiences if experience is the brand and brand is the experience. You don't build experiences today which use multi-sensory, multi-sense senses at all. All you do is create touch interfaces, use a couple of gestures, set up the phone photo booth, and you think that the brand purpose would be achieved. That actually doesn't happen. So technology's limitation is its application. That is the fundamental limitation technology has. In 1905, I forget the name of the guy who said that every possible technology which needs to be invented has been invented. Now, let's figure out how do we use it. So I think it's upon us technologists to figure out how we help marketeers, creative people to put that work out there, which will be meaningful to solve actually real social problems. And today, like you said, that the people associate with the brand by the kind of work they put out in the world and not necessarily by what they say in their slogans.
So can I ask a question of the panel? So what do we believe is really the definition of marketing? Because, anybody want to take a crack at this? Anybody in the audience? The definition
Yeah,
of
in
marketing.
fact, I wanted to do that actually, which is possibly open up, to the audience as well at this stage. And in response to your sort of think about the definition of marketing, I think one of the notions I also wanted to bring in is, and I think you were making the point about marketing and selling, is this whole notion of marketing as a service as well. In a lot of these things that we are talking about, right? It isn't just about sort of broadcasting, but really about the promise of what you're doing.
That's why I think it becomes important to understand the concept of marketing, because we've used it two different ways
That's true.
on the panel
Panel,
now,
exactly.
right? And I want to understand the point of view. Anybody in the audience, definition of marketing? I thought there
Come on.
was a few.
Come on.
I'm not getting paid to be here, so you're not getting paid to be. You paid to be there, so at least you can get some value out of it, right? Okay. Well, so when you talked about marketing as a communication aspect, right? How do we bring the emotion, right? I think Amit nailed it down. I think if you go back to the fundamental definition of marketing, what Drucker did, what Phil Kotler did, right? It's fundamentally marketing is about finding a way to fulfill a consumer need or a customer need in a differentiated way from anybody else, right? And I think what I have seen, having seen the evolution and being from and I know a bunch of us have worked in the developed market, what technology has done is actually put marketing back into the real purpose of marketing, which is it's not about advertising, it's not about communication, it's not about sending out multiple offers, it's not about any of that anymore. Starting to frame at creating real ways of making the brand come to life, which is why we talk about the Chief Customer Experience Officer instead of a CMO, right? And if you look at some of the last 5 new Chief Marketing Officer assignments in the US, all 5 of them have come from the technology plus marketing backgrounds, right? So they're not just pure, right? And the good news is, 10 years ago, there was only one Indian guy heading marketing, okay? Today, in the Fortune 50 companies, there are 11 Indian people, right? 2 women, right? Running marketing. And the reason for that is, marketing has always been an integration of the left brain and the right brain, right? It's about understanding customer needs and finding a product or service to fulfill it. And I think what Ravi, right? What Ravi was talking about makes sense. Is if you look at Nike, Nike's continued to grow double digits while all of the competitors, except New Balance, have struggled. But it's not been because of the shoes. It's been because of the fuel bands. It's been because of the workout technology. It's about creating an experience, not just sensory, but by giving you tools as a way to make you, just so you can do it, right? And live up to the potential. And I think to me, that's the way I prefer to look at marketing, which is the true purpose is how can we together solve a real problem for the customer in a way our competitors don't. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Didn't mean to kind of,
No. I think it definitely makes sense.
I think one aspect maybe can be added, like it's about also educating, like really when you talk about Snapdeal, Amazon and all, so how to pass the education about the product so that his experience, he really knows your product and services better. So that is one area, if it is done well, then probably the experience what he gets through the product and services, right? That will establish your brand, because these are all diluting, because they are going to Snapdeal, going to Amazon, and therefore you have to differentiate through that, and some mechanism of educating that, okay, this is all I have.
So I'm also being mindful of time. So I just want to ask, are there any questions or views or any areas that the audience, yes, sir? You've got.
Sometimes I feel that the technology part of marketing is overhyped, right? Say all e-marketing companies, except for Amazon and maybe Alibaba, is making money. Right? Unless and until in the business, money is paid out of it, and it is sustainable over 2, 3, 4, 5 decades. What is the sense of creating any kind of experience for the customer? Where is the money?
So I think we have to differentiate here. Amazon, Alibaba, etc., e-commerce sites. When we talk about marketing technology, we're talking about tools and systems, and it was covered in that presentation as well, that actually allow us to automate certain parts of the process. So for example, if I want to do a nurture campaign is supposing let's stay with Amazon. I go to Amazon, I look at a television, and then I don't buy it, right? That gets recorded somewhere. And then automatically, next time there's an offer on that television, it pops up either in my email or on my Amazon inbox saying that, hey, you were interested in this television. If you're still interested, here's a better offer, or here are some more that you may be interested in. So automation is being used for giving you offers, nurturing prospects and customers. It's a B2C. We do that in B2B as well, right? So when a customer comes to our website, looks at a certain product, downloads a brochure, but doesn't go beyond that, then we capture that information and then send some additional information asking if the person is interested to know more, whether a salesperson should call on that person, right, with more information, so on and so forth. So that's the part of automation of marketing. Now, obviously, that can enable e-commerce, but e-commerce has many other aspects, right? It's price, it's delivery, it's trust. Alibaba today, if you read what Jack Ma is saying, they're not getting their little red packets this year because while even, and this is what he's gone in public and said, which is the Chinese New Year time, because even though that they've gone public and they've made money in that aspect, they still have a lot of issues with their reputation in terms of the products and so on and so forth. I just read about it yesterday. So we need to differentiate the two things.
The two. And there is a lot of good things, by the way, that traditional marketeers have learned from e-commerce companies, and that's something that I think we are exploring in a different panel over the next couple of days. I think.
Submission here is that whatever we do, at the end of the day, at the end of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, companies should be able to make money.
You're absolutely right.
And you know what?
Money should be sustainable.
Yeah.
The company can sustain.
Having worked in e-commerce, I'll just
No, I'm not focusing only on e-commerce. Any aspect of marketing is correct, provided it helps the company.
We need to, absolutely. I think ROI is a completely different.
I was just carefully listening to the definition of marketing. There's no element of profit. There's no element of sustainable profit. Without sustainable profit, all aspects of marketing are useless. The companies do
That's
very well said.
I completely agree, but let me
for money for survival. And money is the only ingredient.
He was referring to it in the consumer aspect of it.
Yeah, but
But very well said.
You're absolutely right, right? I mean, any business, if a business is not making money, it makes no sense.
Yep.
Okay? I think the point that we all agree with it, right? And which is why we're all here. But the other part is, if you think about it, if you go back and look at examples like Macy's, right? I mean, Tesco and Harrods were the old world. They were the platforms that got us here. But if you look at Macy's, which was one of the brands in the US that went from great to losing money, to now they've become one of the best, most profitable retailers and one of the strongest retail brands globally. They did that by leveraging marketing, technology, and automation, right? Because I was part of that at Epsilon after I sold my last company to them. And they leveraged the automation, they leveraged all the predictive knowledge and stuff. Now, here's the funny part, right? How many people in the marketing world think giving deals dilutes the brand value? That giving deals to customers ongoing to buy deletes brand dilutes.
reduces.
It's absolutely, that's the old world model, right? That's what we grew up in when we were doing, hey, let's affect people's behaviors. You know what? Giving deals, the right deals to the right person, improves the brand value because it gets them a product or a service. Macy's, my wife's most favorite store. You know why? Every time she goes by, online or otherwise, she gets a coupon. And she gets a coupon, and then she gets a special day she can go sell, and she keeps on buying it. Strongest brand. If you look at Home Depot, the largest retailer in the world, they've committed to putting in a $1.5 billion in 2015 alone, just in technology investment, to deliver a better, what they call interconnected retail experience, which we in the hype are calling omnichannel. So I think as these guys who actually do this stuff say, technology is only being hyped because it allows companies to make money. I come from a different point. I have absolute, I wouldn't do anything without technology. I start with the human being first, which is why my point of view has always been a little off from some of the group here.
Sure.
We have very much limitation when we are going for the providers, for the affiliates, to get the leads and to generate the revenue. We are going for the market. We are not getting the proper marketing.
And Kushal, you want to
So I can address that for you.
Yeah.
So I think we created a brand called Zipac, and we made a brand called Reliance Games. The company started out from a humble 10, 12 people in Pune, which has now grown into almost about 400 people in Pune. We have an office in Korea, 2 offices in the US, London, Germany. All talent, most of it 90% Indian. The point is, I think we were perhaps very early movers in this space. I understand there's a huge challenge to get talent to create gaming, as well as Indians, we're not in that space yet to even consume it as well. How many in this room have played a game beyond Candy Crush?
Angry Birds?
Beyond Angry Birds. So we're in a space of sort of, I think, just playing trivial casual games. So we're not like the Chinese, we're not like the Japs or the Indonesians. So I think it's yet to take a different space. But if your question was saying that, is there opportunities? I think yes, there are loads of companies coming into India, giving birth of talent pools. At Reliance, we create avenues of almost every quarter to create gameathons wherein people like you and many others could come, participate, create a platform, incubate talent. We get funding as well. Yeah, so.
Gambling.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Well, we're talking a different language then. We're talking about the government then. You need to sort of knock on Mr. Namo, or you need to knock on someone else's doors to figure out whether you have online poker or online something else, online casino. So that's a different space. So I don't think any of us have any sort of, I think, connections with the government.
Yeah, but having said that, I must tell you that I did work in one of my previous jobs, actually on a project plan with, and I probably can say this openly right now, because with actually Lalit Modi, because this is one of his passions as well. And I'll tell you where it took him, so we could probably have a conversation offline on this.
I was involved with Harrah's, and helped them build their first Harrah's rewards program when Gary Loveman went out there as CEO. And even out there, we still got the same issue. How do we get gaming to mass outside of those big buildings that people go and spend time in, which have no clocks or anything, right? So that's a fun challenge.
It's a fun
I'm glad you're in
challenge.
that business.
Yeah. Probably anyone else? Yeah.
So, as Ravi sir mentioned over here, that the main limitation of technology is the sensory perception. So, how do you think marketing technology will evolve to actually justify that?
How will it evolve? If I could answer that, I'll be a billionaire. But it's a great question. All the technology exists. The fundamental issue is, did you follow CES, Consumer Electronics Show? No, okay.
Please Google CES, follow it.
Yeah,
give
I
you
mean,
some sense of.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of stuff which is already happening out there. There are 2 aspects to how this could possibly go. One is that the silicon era will end, and then you'll get into biohacking, which is the organic marketing. That's huge possibility in 3 to 5 years' time, wherein you will have screens which you can lick, wherein you'll have things which you can really feel, etc. Then there are other aspects of it, which is affective computing. Affective computing is that wherein you could actually bring out the social emotions or the real emotions in people by giving them the experiences, which could help them sort of think through their brain. You already have brain computing. There is a project called Love Project. It is one of my favorite, wherein bunch of architects and studio in Brazil actually created tangibles out of intangibles. Like, they asked a bunch of folks to explain their love feelings, and they actually printed them in 3D. So now, is that what you will call, sensory sort of a technology? It depends, right? Even having a basic technological experience wherein you could interact with something using voice, it adds to that multi-sensory, because you already have a visual. You can touch it. Touch screens are already there. Now you have an audio. You can have a, physical sense, which is through the lights and all. So we call them 4D experiences. You will, now with the virtual reality, you see a lot of 4D experiences being created. So all of that technologies, it will culminate into creating these new age experiences. The trouble is, especially with India, and I think a couple of guys touched upon it, but trouble with India specifically is that were not even there using the standard mobile technologies. So I don't know how that'll appeal. But on the flip side of it, you could leapfrog because you have about 700 or 600 odd million people who are not connected to the mainstream digital. Now, if they were not to learn the usual technologies which uses keyboard, mouse, touch screen, or what have you, if technology were to adapt to their context, which is wherein how they talk, how they behave, it was just part of the environment, you just could leapfrog. So if one of you could think about an idea wherein you could essentially create the local, regional, lingual technology, I can bet you'll be a billionaire soon, because that's the next marketing frontier for India, wherein you penetrate the language barrier, wherein you penetrate the regional barrier, and make technology so very natural to their environment that it becomes organic, pretty much organic.
Yeah.
I don't know if I addressed.
So just want to
What? Yeah, okay.
just want to add to this a little paradigm of some of the, since I come from a technology company and hence we are working on some of the things. Something that we are working on is something called Internet of Things. Okay, when we talk about Internet of Things and you talk about connected devices, imagine a scenario when you leave your office, your air conditioning in your car starts on, it's send across a message to your refrigerator, to your microwave oven, and by the time you reach, the groceries have been ordered and their refrigerator knows what to order, what not to order, and things like that. So technology can or is going to move towards those kind of dimensions, okay, wherein I don't know how would marketers take it if, for example, an Internet of Things signal comes in from a mobile device, whether it's going to be Pepsodent or a close-up, I don't know. What will get ordered, or is there going to be an offer on that? But yes, Internet of Things and the connected devices is going to be very soon.
In fact, we actually wanted to do a panel on this. It's really a very interesting area.
So I'm working on that Internet
get
of
into
Things
a lot of
project. If
absolutely.
anybody wants to kind of work, and I'm more than happy to share more.
Share that.
You really think that one day technology will overpower creativity?
So we'll come to that. Any other thoughts? Because I'm also mindful about lunch. So I've got this whole list of announcements to make as well, so that we don't necessarily delay this. So, are there any other comments? Yeah, I'd just like to take them all together so that we can have a holistic.
So I have a question here. We spoke about traditional marketing and how it was done, where there was not so much of information flowing in. So wherever the communication came from, it came from a central ground. So we had, the marketeers had the kind of choice to condition, to spread awareness and to influence the buyer behavior. But right now what is happening is, since there's a lot of information on the internet, the consumer who's going on Snap, who's going on other forums, who's going actually entering a store has already decided what he has to buy because he thinks he knows enough. Now that on the flip side is damaging the brand also, because you never know where the communication is coming. So my question here to the panelists is that definitely marketing and technology is converging at one point. But is that point before the buyer is making a choice, or is that point after the buyer is making a choice?
So actually, it's everywhere. In fact, when we talk of marketing technology today, we call it always on. You can't do it before or after. I'll give you an example. With a huge retail chain in North America, we actually wanted to create a holistic journey for a shopper. The shopper's journey on a website is event-based, but shopper's journey in a physical store is not event-based, right? It's a lot more fluid. So we wanted to actually merge the two and try and figure out how a marketeer or a retail guy could solve that problem. But I think fundamentally, to your point, we also figured out that the digital behavior of the consumer is actually very different when they use devices, but they switch context. You can't just learn about the consumer behavior by looking into your own application alone. You have to also look at, what do they do holistically on their digital devices? What do they do holistically inside the store or outside the store? And that's why precisely it is an always-on phenomenon. So when we did this, we figured out that a lot of people do something pre-trip, something during the trip, something post-trip. So I can't give you a lot of details, but the important point was we realized that after making the communication calls, etc., the second thing they do most is play games in store, which is funny because why would you go shopping and play games? So we realized that the main customer segment of that retail giant was actually mothers. So they're always accompanied by kids, so they hand over the phones, they're playing games. So what we ended up doing was to sort of innovate and created an augmented reality game for the kids. Now, if we didn't further, create insights on that or generated data, we would have thought we solved the problem. But what ended up happening now, 60% of the people who played the games were adults. So now we altered the behavior, right? So there's this fundamental divide of, can you do pre-trip, can you do post-trip, etc. Because of the organic nature of the consumer, which is, consumer does not divide between what's technology, what's physical world, what's pre-trip, what's post-trip, what's inside and outside. You have to always, in an always-on world, look for, avenues to create these always-on sort of solutions to solve for this problem.
And just to sort of add on to this, we actually have a session this afternoon on marketing to the empowered customer, which really will, I guess, go into a little bit more detail about this. There's another session on omni-channel marketing as well, which will again sort of delve into this whole detail on both physical as well as digital. And to your question, I think there's a question on future technologies. I think tomorrow there's a presentation on future technologies and what's going to come. So essentially the point, I think, is just keep coming back to this room. You'll get a lot of this.